Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Aquia Robinson. Welcome to Friends in Beauty, a place for beauty industry creatives looking to create impact, influence, and longevity. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I record and edit my podcast. A lot of my friends in beauty have expressed interest in having their own podcast, and I know, to be honest, it could be a lot to think about in the beginning, like where to start, what to record with, what software to use, all of that good stuff. I'm going to edit the podcast. So in this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of how I record and edit an interview episode for the podcast. So if that is something that you are interested in seeing, then keep on watching. So if you didn't know, I'm also the host of the Friends in Beauty podcast, and I actually record and edit all of the episodes myself. So with the Friends in Beauty podcast, I alternate between solo episodes and interview episodes. So with this interview episode, I'm going to show you exactly how I do my recording, and I'm also going to show you how I edit the podcast as well. So the first thing that you need when you're recording a podcast for some really good audio is a microphone. So the microphone that I have is the Audio-Technica ATR 2100, and I'll leave a link below for this exact microphone. This is actually a microphone that my mentor recommended for me, and it's really inexpensive. You do not have to spend a lot of money on a microphone. This one, I believe I didn't spend any more than like $21 or something like that. But of course there are other microphones on the market, but this one has been working out just fine for me. I've had it a little, like almost 2 years, I believe I had this microphone before I even started the podcast. It also comes with a stand, so it's hands-free. So when I'm recording the podcast, I just prop it up and just talk. It picks up the audio, and it doesn't have to be really close to your mouth. The extra thing that I did have to purchase for this microphone is, I think this is called a popper. So that when you're having those hard P's and H sounds and things like that, it doesn't like pick up the sound. So I did purchase this in store, this foam piece that's on top of it. I purchased it at Guitar Center, actually. I think it was like $2 or $5 or something, just to go over top of the microphone, because it needs it. So the second thing that I use to record my podcast is actually my laptop. So you can use any laptop that you have. I actually have a Mac, but I record my podcast on my laptop, the interview episodes, because I put the interview episodes on YouTube as well. So you have the audio version that people can listen to on all the, platforms like Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, all of that good stuff. And the visuals from the podcast, I like to put it on YouTube so people can actually see our faces, see us interacting and everything like that. So I use my laptop because I actually use Zoom to record my interview episodes, and once that is finished on Zoom, I take the file. It gives you an audio file, and it also gives you the video file, and the audio file is what I take to edit the audio version of the podcast, and the video file is what I take and I edit the video version. So let's go ahead and jump into my laptop so I can show you exactly how I record the video portion and the audio portion for the podcast. Before we do that, I actually forgot to mention something. So the microphone comes with a little cord. So all you do is you insert this into the microphone, and you insert the USB part into your laptop, and don't forget to turn it on. Let's go ahead and jump into the computer right now. So I had to go ahead and record this portion with my phone. But what you want to do, once you get to your laptop, you just want to open up Zoom and start a new meeting. The person that I'm interviewing today has the link and the password to get in. So once she joins, I already have my Zoom set to record. Let me see. Make sure you press record, because that's how you're going to get the recording. Make sure you press record, and once she comes in, it's just going to automatically start recording. So once this thing ends, once I end the meeting right over here, is going to start converting the file, and it's going to split it into an audio version and a video version. So once I'm done with the interview, I will show you exactly what that looks like. So I have my microphone all set up. I have my laptop set up. It's actually propped up on something right now so you can see me really good. I'm waiting for the person that I'm interviewing to join. But one thing I forgot to mention as far as interviewing is I have my phone. So I keep my interview questions on my phone and I kind of just prop it up at the side of my laptop so you can't see it. And I just glance back and forth every now and then to look at the questions as I'm interviewing. Hope that's helpful. Hey.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. I'm so
Good.
excited. I'm
Hi,
super excited for this.
me too.
How's life in LA? All right, so I just wrapped up the interview. I'm so excited. This is somebody that I have been wanting to interview for so long, and we've been friends on Instagram and everything for years. So I'm so excited that I got to interview her. But now I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the computer to show you how I actually edit the audio for the podcast. So let's go ahead. So as you can see, I just ended the meeting, the Zoom interview. But once I ended the interview, this thing pops up and says converting meeting recording. So once this is done recording, I would then have my audio file to choose from and I would have my video file to choose from. All right, so thanks to the wonderful world of technology, this is my second time recording this portion, but it's super duper important that you see this. So, of course, I'm your best friend in beauty. I don't mind recording it for you. So, once you go ahead, once you have saved your files, your audio and your video files, what you're going to do is go ahead and open up whatever software that you're using to edit. I'm on my Mac computer, so I'm using GarageBand. That is something that automatically comes with the Mac. It's a free software that I don't have to pay for. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my Launchpad and open up GarageBand. So as you can see, it automatically opens up the last project that you have worked on. So as you can see, I have already edited this episode. So what you're going to do is you're going to go up to File and you're going to select New. I'm going to select Empty Project. That's the only option. And then I'm going to use this option under audio, record using a microphone or line input or drag and drop audio files. That's the one that I'm going to be using. I think the other ones pertain to music and that's not what we're doing today. So go ahead and press create. And then this is the way that I was taught how to do this. This portion up here at the top, you want to go ahead and deselect some things that do not pertain to us. So first you want to deselect this 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe that's some kind of timer to count people in when they're doing music files. And then you want to deselect this as well, because that makes like a clicking sound if you don't deselect that, and it's really, really annoying. So all of these things right here pertain to music. So what you want to do is you want to select this arrow, and instead of it being on beats and projects, you just want to change this to time. So once we have this is going to be our timestamp for the podcast. Now, the really, really important thing when you're editing in GarageBand, I'm not sure about the other softwares, but when you're editing in GarageBand, and just to be organized when you're editing your podcast, each audio file should have its own separate track. So right here, this is considered a track. Audio 1 is a track. But I know when I do my interview episodes, I need at least 6 tracks for what I'm going to be doing. So the way that my show is formulated or formatted, the way that my show is formatted, it goes like this. So normally I start my episodes off with some kind of gem. So when I'm listening to my podcast, I go ahead and I choose a snippet of something that the person has said that just really resonates, like a gem intro. So that's what I like to call it. So I just go ahead and I double click on this, and I'm going to name this gem intro. After my gem intro, so in order to get a new track, what you can do is, I'm on my Mac computer, so I'm just pressing down on my keypad with both fingers, and I'm going to select new audio track. I'm going to double click on this, and then the next thing after that is the music, my intro music. After my, go back there, music, click out of that. After my music, I have my master intro, and my master intro is just basically the intro to the podcast, telling you what the podcast is, what it's about, who I am, and all that good stuff. After my master intro, I then have my interview intro. So my interview intro, and these are just things that I named it because I know what it means. So you can name it whatever you like. But the interview intro is essentially me just introducing like who I'm interviewing for this episode of the podcast, a little bit about their bio, a little bit of their bio, and also highlighting some of the things that we talked about. After the interview intro, I'm going to go ahead and slide in the audio from Zoom. So I'm going to go ahead and name this episode 56. And the person that I interview is Mame Adjei. I'll do that. And then after this, I have my master outro. My master outro is just like, hey, thanks for listening to the podcast and all that good stuff. The master intro and the master outro are things that are pre-recorded so that I don't have to say it over and over again each week. So that is essentially how I set up all of the tracks for my episodes. All right, so keep note that this, whatever you're dragging it to, it should be selected. So I have episode 56, Mame Adjei, selected. So I'm going to go to my files, go to Zoom. Let me slide this up some. I'm going to select Mame audio. And I'm just going to take that and drag it down into GarageBand, just like that. So it's importing. So now this is the fun part. We get to the fun part. So this is the whole audio file for the episode. So as you can see the sound waves. I'm pretty sure that all of this here in the front is just when we were doing, our small talk, like, hey girl, so good to see you, all of that good stuff. And I could tell by the waves here that more than likely this is where the episode begins, right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this because this brings up a precision editor. So I could edit, up here, but I like editing down here at the bottom because it's bigger and I can see it better. So I'm going to scroll over to about the place where I feel like the interview starts. And I think it's right here. And what I'm going to do on my keyboard is I'm going to select Command T. So Command T inside of GarageBand lets you split the track. So I'm going to split the track right here where my cursor is, right here. I'm going to split the track. I did Command T. Now this is highlighted. This is what I want to keep. So I'm going to highlight this area over here because this is where I want to delete. So on my keyboard, I'm just going to select delete and all of that is going to go. So let me go ahead and press play to see if this is where the interview starts. I'm back also. Cool. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for doing this. So not quite. I need to scroll over a little bit more. So the interview episode starts right about here. So I have my cursor here. I'm going to do Command T. Make sure that it's selected. I'm going to do Command T again. I'm going to select all of this that's over here, and I'm going to press delete. Let me play it again to make sure. Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast. Yep, so that is the beginning of the interview. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and listen to the interview. And any areas that I feel like it's too long of a pause, or there were times throughout the interview that there was a little like distraction from like the traffic or her little cute puppy that she mentioned. So I might cut those things out. Normally when I'm doing like the audio, I want the audio to be as precise as possible. But when I'm doing like the video editing, I kind of let those things slide. So I'm just going to go ahead and listen to the interview. And then when I get to an area where I need to cut out the audio, I'll come back and show you how I do that. Okay, so here's an example of a long pause that I would like to cut out. So right here in this area, just listening to it, like if the long pause kind of fits with the conversation, I'll leave it. But this one was a long pause that I want to take out. So I'll put my cursor right at the end of that audio, and I'll do Command T on my computer keyboard. So I'll come to the end of that, and then I'll come to the beginning of where it picks up again. do Command T as well to split the file. Now I have this chunk in the middle that I can select and delete. And then once I do that, I have to select this side and then slide it over to meet the other side as close as possible. Then I always replay it just to make sure that it sounds the way that I want. To just like, there was no. Sounds good. I feel like America, I don't know what it is, but like America's. And here's another one that I can do. Select that. Select that. And sometimes I might leave like a tiny bit of pause in the middle just so it can make sense, but I can slide this over to meet the other half. I like to do it as close as I can, because if you don't do it super close, then the audio kind of skips. So let's see how this sounds. I don't know what it is, but like America is so like self-esteem, golly. All right, so that works. So I'm going to continue listening and see if there's any other areas that I want to do the same thing with. All right, so I want to show you one last example on how to split the audio file and to drag it. So again, here's an area from here to here that I want to cut out. So I'm going to place my cursor here, and instead of doing Command T on my keyboard, I'm actually going to go up to Edit, and then I'm going to go down to Split Regions at Playhead. So that's the same code, Command T, but I just wanted to show you how you can do it from the menu bar at the top. So again, my cursor is here. I'm going to go up to Edit, go down to Split Regions at Playhead, and it does the same thing. I'm going to go to the beginning of where I want that audio file to start now. Go back to Edit at the top, Split Regions at Playhead, and then I'm going to select this whole section in the middle and press Delete on my keyboard, and then slide this over to meet as close as I can, and then I always play it back again. I just love double checking like that just to make sure, but I always play it back again just to make sure it sounds good as far as transition goes. Right here in the middle, entering her first pageant. Man, there really is nothing to say. Sounds good to me. So I just wanted to show you how to do that, aside from using the commands on your keyboard. Okay, so after listening to the episode, I think that I found my gym intro. I'm not done listening yet, but I think I found my gym intro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor, so same way as like I'm splitting the file, I'm going to put my cursor here and I'm going to do Command T on my keyboard. Then I'm going to scroll to the end of where that is, say like right around this area. Do Command T again. Now I'm going to select all of this in the center, and instead of deleting it, I'm going to go up here to Edit, and I'm going to copy. So on your keyboard, you can do Command C. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy since I'm here. And now that it's in here, so now that I have it copied, I'm just going to leave it, because once I'm done editing, I'm just going to go and paste it into the gym intro. But at this point, I could post it into the gym. I could paste it into the gym intro right now, but I'm just going to keep it copied onto my keyboard until I finish listening to the episode, because I may find a different clip that I want to highlight for the beginning, but the one that I just listened to sounds good. So I got that copied, and then I'll show you how I'll go ahead and paste it in the end. Okay, now I finished listening to the episode, and I have determined that I do want to keep that gym intro that I selected. So it's still copied to my clipboard. I haven't done any more copying. So what I'm going to do is go to the beginning of this whole thing. So I'm going to go to the beginning of, like, from starting from zero. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I'm going to go to the very beginning, and I'm going to select gym intro now. And I'm just going to come over here to this gray area, press down with 2 fingers on my keypad, and I'm going to paste, or you could come up here and paste. So go up to Edit, come down to Paste, or you can do Control V on Command V. You can do Command V on the keyboard to paste in that audio file. So that is the gym intro right there. So I always like to drag it over to start 2 seconds into my episode. So I do that. I come down to music. Well, actually, let me listen to this first to make sure that I don't need to. I think I may need to edit a little bit in here, but let me listen to it first. Okay, so I'm going to edit this a little bit. So instead of splitting the file, I'm going to come to the edge here and just drag this over. So that's where it's going to end. And then just right in between this area, again, the same way I've been splitting the file, I'm just going to do that so that is no pauses, because this is the intro to the episode. So to have the pauses would be just a little bit too much. So I'm just going to take out these pauses the same way. Drag this over. And I want to make sure it sounds good. I just always love double checking.
Like me. We have enough black girls. I said, you have enough black girls. So I kind of just was like, all right, but y'all don't have me.
All right, so that sounds good. So now I'm at the point where I'm basically about to start building out the entire episode. So I have my gym intro here. Next, what I do is I have to add the music. So I'm going to select music. I'm going to go down to my files, go to my desktop. I have a whole folder here for the Friends in Beauty podcast. So I'm just going to go down, and this is actually the track that I use. It's called Bitcoin. And I'm just going to drag that there, just like that. And then right where this ends, right where the gym intro ends, is where my master intro is going to go. So my master intro is something that I have already pre-recorded that I add to every episode. So I'm just going to go back into those files again and just slide in my master intro right there. And then every time that I do this, I always have to go and, edit this down a little bit because it's a little bit of space in the beginning. So instead of like splitting the file again, they have this little cursor here at the bottom where I could just kind of minimize the file itself just by dragging it over. So I still leave like a tiny bit of space in the front just to drag it over like that. And then make sure you come back up here into the main editing space, and then you drag this over to meet the very edge of that. So what I like to do is I like to listen. So let's go back to the beginning and see how it's sounding. Actually, before I do that, because I like to build out, I like to do all of my edits all at the same time so I don't have to go back and finagle things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to mix. So right here in the main, I don't know what this is called up here in the menu, I'm going to go to mix, and I'm going to go to create volume fade out main input. So this is basically going to help me, determine what volume levels I want on certain tracks, and also to fade out the music and all of that good stuff. So I normally keep this like right in the center, 0, 0, but for the music, I like to take it down to -8. That's just me personally. You might like yours a little bit lower, but I take my music down a little bit because I want you to be able to hear the gym intro. So let's go ahead and play it and see what it sounded like so far.
So what's the issue? Is it my book? Do I need to work on? Like, what do I need to work on? Can you tell me? She's like, yeah, you got a wide range. Da 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 da. So I was like, do I need more beauty?
All right. So that is sounding good. What I am going to do is come to the edge of the end of this file as well and trim this down a little bit, because right after this is going to be my interview intro. So actually what I have to do for my interview intro is I have to record it. So it's going to start right here. I'm going to put my cursor right there. And what I'm going to do as well while I'm doing this is I'm going to mute out all of the other tracks. because sometimes it can get distracting when you're trying to record and you're hearing the audio from the other track. So the way that you would do that is you would come to each track and just click on this icon right here just to mute them. And I'm also going to mute the interview um, audio as well, because I'm not sure how far over. I think I still have a little bit of space, but I'm going to delete. I'm going to mute that as well, because I had to actually record. So I always wait until I listen to the episode to record the interview intro, because I like to talk about, a little bit. I like to add like what we talked about in the interview and all that good stuff. So, and the vibe that I had. So I like to kind of wait so I can give like my genuine reaction. But the way that I'm going to record this now is I'm just going to go over to this and I'm going to do narration vocal. And you see that kind of changed a little bit. So my microphone is attached to my laptop right now. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start recording. So the way that I do that is you go ahead up to the top here and you press record and you just start talking. So I'll go ahead and press record. And you'll see that as I start talking, these sound waves pop up on, the recording. So that's how I know that you can hear me. It's picking up my voice and everything is good. So I'm going to go ahead and record my intro. Okay, so now that I'm finished recording the interview intro, I do have to go through and edit it, but what I'm going to do first is drag the beginning of it over to meet the end of the master intro. So that's where it will start. So I'm just going to go through really quickly and edit the interview intro, and then I'll show you how I continue editing the rest of the episode. Okay, so now that I have finished editing the interview intro, what we have to do now is we have to drag episode 56 to meet the end of the interview intro. So I have to scroll over until I find it. And here we are. So I'm just going to unmute that so you can see the color. This looks better. So what I have to do now is scroll through, because as you can see, a lot of these files are split. So if I were just to select this, it wouldn't drag over the rest of this. So this is the first set of files right here. So what I have to do is I have to continue scrolling and I have to select each and every one of them in order to drag them all at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the shift key on my keyboard at the same time as I'm pressing the other audio file to highlight that. So I'm just going to continue to go through and do that. So at the same time, I'm pressing shift and then I'm selecting the file. I'm just going to continue to scroll through until I come across one that needs to be selected again. Oh, there we go. Select those two. All right, now everything is selected. I'm going to go back to the first file, the first segment rather. So as you can see, the file stops at the interview intro stops at like 550. So this is where we have to drag it to. So since this is still highlighted, it's going to drag all the things that I just selected. So literally selecting it and dragging it. See, dragging. There we are. And make sure that it's still on the same line as the track that you created. So just going to drag it right there. So let me listen to it really quick just to make sure. Go ahead and jump into this interview with Mame Adjei. Enjoy. Welcome to the Friends in Beauty Pod. All right. The last thing that I have to do is scroll back to the end of the interview. And right here, I have to drop our master outro. So what I'm going to do is go back to my files and go back to my folder. I have my master outro right here. I'm going to select it and just drag it over to meet the edge of that. What I like to do is I'm going to go back through and I'm going to unmute everything else. What I like to do is I like to add music when I'm transitioning and exiting into certain things. So I'll give you an example. So let's go ahead and do it like this first. So we got our beginning, we got our gym intro, we got the music track going, and it's not that long. I think it's like only 2 minutes and some change. And then it goes into the master intro. But right here, where I start the interview intro, I want the music to fade. So that's why earlier we went up to mix and then we did the create volume, fade out, fade on main output because it makes these little I don't even know what these are called. These yellow lines pop up, but that's where you edit the volume. So what I'm going to do on the music track is maybe come in a little bit here because the music track, since it's still above, the interview intro, that means that this music is going to be playing while the interview intro is going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and then I'm going to click here to create like a little segment. And then what you do to make the music fade is you start to drag this down like this. So the music is all on this one level of volume right here. And then once it hits here, it's going to start to fade. So let's see how that sounds.
Have fun while doing it. You ready? Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Aquia Robinson. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast. I am so happy to have you here.
See, the music fades. So what I like to do is I like to add music right before I transition into the interview as well. So at some point, maybe about here, depends on what I'm saying. If it fits, I'll add music there as well and do the same fade. So
Experience as a model and also dealing with unqualified and why she's so passionate about women. In this episode of the Friends.
So I may add it like right about there. I'm going to add music right about there. So what I could do is I could copy the music track and paste it, but I'm just gonna go back into my files, select my track, and then I'm gonna drag it right here. Boom. So in order to have that music fade in now, I do the same thing. I select a section right here, this little dot. I put another dot like right at the beginning, and then I drag it up. For me, I like it at about 16 or 15, wherever it lets me do it. I say 16.6 so that the music starts to fade in. So listen.
Triumph. In this episode of the Friends of Beauty podcast, Mame shares some tips on confidence and why she's so passionate about.
Right. So the music is very low right there. And then since the track is still hovering above episode 56, that means that the music is going to be playing when the actual interview starts. So in order to, make that fade out, I do the exact same thing. I'm up here in the music track. I select and then I drag it down a little bit so that, the music is still playing a little bit, when the interview starts. So let's see how that sounds.
Interview with Mame Adjei. Enjoy. Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, Mame. Hi. Thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I am so excited. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I'm
just like that. So this is my music file up here, but it corresponds with, the interview episode down here. So right at the end of this, I'm going to have two dots here and I'm going to take this volume up to an 8. So this is where the either 8 or 7.9, whatever is the closest, because I don't have time to fight with it. But this is where the outro will start to fade in. So leave it right there. See how that sounds?
Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast.
All right. And then the most important thing that I messed up on when I first started doing this podcast is to make sure that the music stops somewhere. So let's see, right about here is where I stop talking. So I like the music to like just fade out. I think it just sounds good instead of just ending it abruptly. So I'm going to have the music to just fade out. I'm going to put my cursor right here at the end and I'm going to Command T and split that music file and delete that off. So you'll see, let me see. You'll see how it fades out. See, I just love that. And then the last thing that I do, because I just always like to double check everything, that's just how I am. I always like to go through. So now, since we created these fade in and fade outs, we have a master track down here with the audio. And sometimes I've noticed that it'll do its own thing and kind of like if it feels like the audio is dropping off, it will start to lower the volume. So I always go through and I scroll just to make sure that this master track right here is still leveled and is not dipping off, because if the audio dips off, that means it's going to, your volume is going to be lower in your track. So everything looks good. And then the second thing that I always do, or the last thing that I always do, is I always go back and I play my transitions just to make sure that everything sounds good. So I'll listen to the beginning of this, and then I'll listen to make sure that the music and everything fades well into this. And I'm just extra that way. And I always make sure that this sounds good, transitioning into, or into and out of the interview intro into the interview episode. So I just always like to go back and make sure that everything sounds good. But yep. All right. So I actually just went through and listened to everything, all the transitions, and it sounds good. I don't want to have to drag you along doing that. So once you are done, once you are satisfied with your recording, you're going to go up here to share, and then you're going to export song to disk. And what I like to do, see, I've already named mine's episode 56, Friends and Beauty Podcast, Mame Adjei. What I like to do is I like to, and that's one thing I forgot to mention too, make sure you're saving your edits, throughout the time. You just never know what can happen. But what I like to do, instead of saving it in GarageBand as my final thing, I like to save it on my desktop and make sure that is an MP3, and then you press export. So I like to save it to my desktop just because it's easy for me to access. But so once this is done saving, then I can go ahead and upload this to my podcast host, Libsyn, and then it distributes it to all of the podcasting platforms. So the Friends of Beauty podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google, pretty much everywhere podcasts can be heard. And then I also put the episodes on the Friends and Beauty YouTube channel as well. So the visual portion of that would be on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful, and happy editing. If you have any questions or concerns, definitely let me know. This is something that I kind of just, picked up over time. My first few episodes were a little bit difficult, or not even difficult, just time consuming to edit. But once you get the hang of it, you'll be just fine. So go out here and let's get it. Another thing that I forgot to mention as far as recording the podcast, when it comes to the visual portion of the podcast, I do have a light that is right behind me. So my laptop is here, it's propped up on something, and the light is shining directly on me. I can't show you the light right now because I'm using it to record this, but the light is a GLAMCOR light. Now I'll put a picture, somewhere on the screen for you to see which one it is, but I'm using a GLAMCOR light for my light, and I'm actually sitting in front of a window as well. So it is daytime, so I don't necessarily need the light. I just have the light on just in case the sun starts to go down, and it would change everything in here, but I do have a light as well. All right, so that is it for today's video. I hope that you learned something new, and if you've been thinking about starting a podcast, I hope that that gives you a little bit more insight into what to expect and how to record and edit interview episodes for your podcast. But if you want to see how I record and edit the solo episodes for my podcast, which would be really good if you don't plan on doing interview episodes, make sure you give this video a thumbs up so that I know that it's something that you're interested in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with your other friends in beauty. Also join the Friends in Beauty Facebook community if you are a friend in beauty. I will leave the link for that down in the description. What else? Follow me, of course, and follow Friends in Beauty on all social media platforms. Mine is Aquia Robinson. Also follow Friends in Beauty. Make sure you listen to the Friends in Beauty podcast, of course, so you can see how all of this turned out, all of the editing and recording that I just showed you. Make sure you tune into the podcast so you can see the end result and hear the end result of that. And I think that's it. I will just talk to you next time in another video. Bye.